A group of bipartisan lawmakers joined UFO whistleblower David Grusch on the steps of the Capitol today for what is arguably the most public and most forceful push for government UFO disclosure this country's ever seen. They not only called for greater transparency, but also for the release of specific UFO files and for whistleblower immunity.
Mr. President, I'm asking you directly. Waive the non-disclosure agreements that still bind these patriots. Grant immunity to anyone and everyone who has already come forward and everyone who will come forward. Open the door and let them speak.
Lawmakers and Grusch also accused the Pentagon of avoiding congressional oversight and spending money on UFO programs without congressional approval.
And so, look, the time for disclosure is now. Disclosure today, disclosure tomorrow. The American people have a right to know. We know about these advanced technology programs. We know they come out of Area 51. They did when we went to kill Osama bin Laden with an advanced technology helicopter that Congress never funded. There's trillions of dollars missing at the Pentagon. Where does that money go?
And just note, these are bipartisan lawmakers. That was a Democrat lawmaker just now, and before that was a Republican. For his part, David Grusch reiterated the allegations he made right here on NewsNation 3 years ago. He said the government has a top-secret program that collects and reverse engineers aircraft of non-human origin. And then Grusch made big news. He was asked about how many types of non-human intelligence the government knows about. This was his answer.
It's a continuum from corporeal, bipedal type life to, what I would consider like sentient plasmoid life. But there are several that the U.S. government is aware of.
All right, my next guests may have opinions on that. They both have testified before Congress about seeing evidence of UFOs while on active duty in the Navy. Now private citizens, they are both advocates for greater transparency. Ryan Graves is a former Navy fighter pilot and founder of Americans for Safe Aerospace. And retired Admiral Tim Gallaudet is an oceanographer who served as head of the NOAA. He's the author of the upcoming book, Holding Fast in Heavy Seas. It is great to have you both here. Admiral, you were standing right behind David Grusch and Congressman Burleson as they were talking. The Congressman, Burleson, said that you and David Grusch are, quote, the most important people in this story because they endured an avalanche of stress, all because they believe the information belongs to you, the American. I have to think that felt good to get that sort of recognition that you had been pushing for so long for transparency.
Well, hi, Elizabeth. It's great to be on your show again. And I try not to make this about me, to be honest with you. And Ryan will say the same thing. This is really about the truth, getting the truth to the American people. So I was glad to see a bipartisan push today. That was quite remarkable to see a Democratic congressman and Eric Burleson commend President Trump for his move to transparency. So I think this is really remarkable, and I was glad to be a part of the event.
Right. I was really struck by the congressman saying, hang on, SEAL Team 6 assassinated Osama bin Laden with a Navy, some sort of super sophisticated Navy helicopter we never approved of and had no knowledge of, and that trillions of dollars in the Pentagon has sort of disappeared into thin air.
Yeah, well, that was an important...
Wait, Ryan, let Ryan do that, and then you can weigh in, Admiral.
Yes, I was just going to say, certainly, there's programs that are protected within Area 51, of course, and other test and evaluation areas. But ultimately, what the congressman is talking about are programs that are spending trillions of dollars, perhaps, that are completely unaccounted for across congressional budgeting, right? Mm-hmm. So for a democracy, a constitutional democracy, to be able to function, the voters need to be informed about the decisions that the government is making. If they have to decide between one congressman or one president versus another candidate, how can they do so if they're not even discussing the issues that are relevant in this case?
But Admiral, how is it possible that the Navy's actually using technology that Congress hasn't approved of or isn't aware of?
Well, right, that's the issue, and that's what we came forward today to speak about, is that this should not be any programs the Pentagon's conducting that are not subject to congressional oversight. And as Ryan mentioned brilliantly, this is what our Constitution mandates. So this is unacceptable, and that's what we all were there to call for today.
Well, Admiral, what did you make of what David Grusch said about the government being aware that there were several kinds of extraterrestrial life, including bipedal life, sentient plasmoid life? What do those terms even mean?
Well, Elizabeth, I don't have firsthand knowledge of the different types of non-human intelligences that the government is aware of. And actually, there are even books that have been published by former Defense Intelligence Agency officials about the investigations documenting these types of NA. I don't have firsthand knowledge of them, but there are declassified reports and books that document this. So the government is aware, and that's on the record.
Ryan, Grusch also mentioned that during his time as an intelligence officer that he learned that the U.S. had a UFO crash retrieval program, but also that our adversaries had these same crash retrieval programs, most notably Russia and China. This is a national security issue. Our enemies, geopolitically, may be reverse engineering UFO wreckage to come up with new technology that might be difficult for us to combat.
Absolutely, and perhaps not just our adversaries, but our allies as well. There's a lot of documentation from the Soviet Union and Russia, and interest shown in China on these topics as well. And ultimately, if this is a technology tree that we are withholding from our defense base, and our adversary is willing to utilize that technology against us, then our defenses against those technologies will be inadequate. And that's one of the gaps that is posed here for national security that we need to address. Never mind the fact that our adversaries, often such as China, have the ability to put a large amount of resources and people into specific problems where the compartmentalized nature of how we operate at a very high classification level prevents mass diffusion of that information. Is what allows us to have an innovative ecosystem with all the different brains in the United States that we can bring to bear on different problems. That's not what we're doing right now, and we run the vulnerability of falling behind countries that are willing to invest more into this.
And why is it important? They called for whistleblowers to get immunity, to be able to speak freely, in essence. A lot of people have signed non-disclosure agreements. David Grusch said he was forced to sign one of those, and that there's a much more he can speak about, or would love to speak about, but cannot because of these non-disclosure agreements, these NDAs. They are calling for all whistleblowers to have these NDAs lifted. First of all, Ryan, you first, and then the Admiral, what are the chances those will be lifted? That's a really tough ask, but the pressure does seem to be building.
It does seem to be building. You know, right now, those servants in the executive branch that have signed those NDAs are doing the lawful thing and adhering to the oath that they swore to protect that information. What this really is a battle between Congress to be able to lift those non-disclosure agreements or other restrictions that they might have. And that needs to come from the top of the executive branch. And that's exactly what
meaning the president.
Group of Fine Americans was calling for today.
Meaning the president.
Exactly.
Admiral, I mean, these NDAs, you guys, Congress can call on all these people, and they will get there and say under oath, I can't tell you because I've signed an NDA.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough hill to climb, Elizabeth, because if they just do it for UAP, that opens the door for a number of other topics, which are absolutely critical to have NDAs in place for national security. So, but I think the members of Congress that called for that are doing the right thing, because as David Grusch mentioned during the event, that he has been investigated for potentially violating, or allegedly, the Espionage Act, and that's what's putting the brakes on more UAP disclosure.
Sure, people are seeing he's getting harassed. He's been potentially prosecuted. I'm not going to speak up. Admiral Tim Gallaudet, Ryan Graves, it is always a pleasure to talk to both of you gentlemen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.